Girish, put that more into perspective on why were you saying that corporates are rushing to form the trusts, especially with the kind of fear that has been raised with respect to GAR and private trust by Sanjay?
So I just put it this way. People believe inheritance tax will come one day. People believe that maybe contribution to the trust could be taxable effective April 1, 2017. I believe that that fear may be not founded, because the way the construct of the trust is equal to beneficiary. As long as you ensure that the contributor, trustee and the beneficiary are relatives. If you're not doing corporate trustees, if you're not doing any third-party trustee, if it's within the relatives, there is no rush for 31st March 2017, especially with the takeover code issues which Sanjay mentioned. But Indians are Indians. Nobody likes to go ahead and give away your assets and then wonder that, you know, they will just manage it and not have ability to get it back. So when I'm having discussions with many people are not rushing after they understand the whole issue. But people who are very sure of their desires, like maybe at your age, you may not be sure as to what you want to do with your wealth, whether you want to leave it for your children, whether you want to leave it for your relatives or some charity. So people who are very sure of what they want to do with their wealth are still trying to achieve something by 31st March. People who are not very sure, they still will be in a safe zone as long as they ensure that whenever they create it, the trustee, beneficiaries and the settlers are within the definition of relatives, as Sanjay mentioned.
Okay, so this is the next implication. And how does it leave the succession planning for the promoters? Because most of the corporates in India are promoter-driven companies, and this is clearly a case in point for Indian corporates more vis-a-vis any other country that we see in the world.
So I would put succession planning into two buckets. One is the shareholding planning. Now, with the risk in this country, with every act being amended, and there are prosecutions, and there are so many different consequences of violation of act, be it Companies Act, CCI, Income Tax Act, accounting standards, everybody is trying to professionalize their company. They are letting the companies be run by independent people, and they are getting successors to run the businesses, and they are becoming chairmen or non-executive chairmen. Second layer of succession planning is shareholding planning, which is many people have families, they have sons, daughters, they want to, you know, plan asset distribution within their families because life has become uncertain. We see untimely death, you see disputes in families, you see people actually not able to deal with the wealth in the future. And you're also seeing this wave of which is happening of, in the sense, this SARFAESI Act, bankruptcy code, personal guarantees. So people are getting into trust structures to safeguard the future. So if you had a trust where the personal guarantees can be taken away from the trust, or are you safeguarding the family assets from any business contingencies, are the debates people having. So I see people getting into succession planning to distribute wealth within their children, to safeguard their at least personal effects from business risk, because we see companies going bankrupt also. Commodities, you saw what's happening in airlines, 1 or 2 airlines got bankrupt. So how do you safeguard at least the core houses, personal effects, so that they can't be taken away if a bad day comes?
So what do you have to say about this, Sanjay? And where does it also leave the share transfer issue in terms of succession planning and safeguarding the interests of the promoter group?
Yeah, so to add to Girish, what he said was that typically under Indian Trust Act, the trust is given a status of a distinct entity, which is distinct from the settlor, which is the author of the trust, and the beneficiaries, because the trustees hold the property in trust for the beneficiaries. So that property is outside the clutches of SARFAESI, bankruptcy code, because it is held in trust for somebody else. It cannot have, it cannot be attached, or it cannot be dealt with by the third-party aggressors, including the lenders. So it's a very unique structure in India, and it has been in place for quite some time. And most of the family-run corporates or business houses have actually evolved this structure over a period of time to curtail disputes and to arrive at settlements while they are alive. It's distinct from inheritance and will, because will comes into play once you sort of pass off. But trust structures, you can live while you can operate while you are living also. So these structures are very, very sort of prevalent and tax friendly in that sense. And 56 to 10 is a issue, because that does not clarify whether the relationship between the trustee, the beneficiary and the settler would fall under the definition of relative. I agree with Girish what he says. It on a prima facie basis, it appears yes, they will qualify for this exemption under 56(2) Roman 10.
But that clarification hasn't come in. So for 5210, we need that clarification in particular, and that is there any understanding that we could be getting it anytime soon? Like
the only clarification come by the change in the budget, because the budget is not approved by the Finance Ministry or rather the Parliament yet. Hopefully this clarification comes that trust is exempt. But I think without that clarification, the law should support that this should not be taxable. But the fear is there with GAR and all coming in, with so much wealth being spoken about, so much wealth being in question. Can one take this risk?
All right, so GAR intertwined with the kind of confusion that 56(2)(10) has created, and also the share transfer issue and the taxability under section 1038, and CBDT clarification is also sought on what kind of transactions would fall under that section 1038 of IT Act as well.